The Handmaid's Tale Season 5 Episode 10 Ending Explained. Well, the season finale is here, and what an episode it was. With us spending time with most of the main characters in this episode, and us seeing June grasp on for a chance at survival, the ending to this episode was something that was actually quite beautiful. I didn't expect it, and it made it all the more better when watching it unfold. With there only being one season of the show left following this final episode, I think it did a good job at setting the mindset for the final season that would arrive at some point in the near future. So with that, I thought I'd recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from this final episode. So let's get into it. Here is The Handmaid's Tale Season 5 Episode 10 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The title of this episode being called Safe was very representative of what many of the characters went through in the episode and wanted to feel. We had June putting her quest to find Hannah to the side for now as she realized that her own safety was in jeopardy, which I thought was a big decision for the character to make. We had Jean being put with Commander Lawrence and Naomi as her best interests were at heart. We had Nick wanting to look out for June. And we also had Serena safely on the train heading to Hawaii with baby Noah after escaping the Wheelers in the last episode. I'm going to break this video down by each individual character arc. June. In the final episode, we saw June see her safety becoming the main priority for her, something she even valued over the rescuing of Hannah. "We can't do much for Hannah if we're dead" was something that she spoke when she was speaking to Luke, and it summed it up perfectly. June was targeted by many in Canada, and she was eventually hit by a car from a Canadian resident who was against the refugees and most importantly June, as she was essentially the face of the refugees in Toronto. The scene where she was hit was something that you could really feel running through your entire body. The high-pitched noise, close-up shot, and then harrowing scream made the delivery of this moment so powerful. The safety vest right at the start of the episode marked what this episode was about, with it being called Safe. And it was all about getting herself, Nicole, and Luke out of Toronto. However, due to Luke murdering the person who hit June with the car, we saw Luke get arrested by the police, and it essentially then left June to go on by herself. I thought this was quite a beautiful moment. Throughout the entirety of this season, it felt like Luke just hadn't quite got June and all that she'd been through, and whilst not putting his own feelings first, it just felt like the connection was not 100% there. Whereas in this moment, it most certainly was, and he knew what he had to do to keep June and Nicole safe, and that was sacrificing himself to the police. It was a great moment for the character. A poignant line that was spoken was, "I can't do this alone," which was uttered by June, but as she was on the train, we heard a baby crying, and it was none other than her enemy-turned-ally Serena. The look that she gave Serena was that of conflicted emotions, as even she mentioned herself, they're not friends. But June was the very person who gave Serena the advice to get close to the Wheelers so she could devise a plan to be with her son. So I feel there must be an element of her being proud of her. And I also think June's just grateful to not be on her own. With the both of them together, I think it most certainly means that they will both be fundamental in the hunt to get Hannah back next season, and the aim to take down Gilead, as they've both been wronged by Gilead themselves. June significantly more than Serena, but I still think they're on the same side now. Aunt Lydia. I thought Aunt Lydia's performance in this episode was phenomenal. The emotion that was delivered in the sense that we saw the care and love that she had for Janine, something that was a stark contrast to the very beginning of the show. Aunt Lydia did what was right for Janine in the sense that she placed her with Commander Lawrence and Naomi so that she'd be able to be a handmaid in the house where her own daughter was. However, we saw Janine throw the opportunity away, which we will get into in Janine's section. This ultimately meant that Janine had to be punished, and we saw Aunt Lydia try and stop her from being taken by the eyes. However, during the stopping of her being taken away, Aunt Lydia was pushed to the ground, and I genuinely believe that here is where we're going to see the start of the Aunt Lydia that's seen outside of the show. The look of disgust, anger, and sadness when she was staring off at the van containing Janine spoke 1,000 words. She cares about Janine and the girls that she works with, and she's drifting so far away from the original ways and beliefs of Gilead, as we even saw her mention to Commander Lawrence in the past. I believe Aunt Lydia will be different moving forward, and will be pushing for the change that she so desires. The emotion, delivery, and conviction of this character in this episode was the best we've seen her this season. Nick. Nick had finally done it. With a poignant shot of him crossing the Canadian border, I think this most certainly symbolized him choosing his side, and that's the side of doing all that he can to protect June, which ultimately meant infiltrating Gilead from within. After witnessing June in hospital, we saw him strike up a deal with Twello where he would feed information if it meant that June was protected, which it seemed as though Twello stuck to, due to giving her information about the train. One scene that I thought was quite interesting was when Nick kissed June on the head, and then moments later outside of the hospital, we saw Luke do the exact same. A kiss on the forehead is that of care and compassion, and the fact that they both did the same thing so soon after each other was extremely interesting and showed the love that June has from both of these individuals. Nick walking into Commander Lawrence's wedding and hitting him was something that I thought was great. We've seen the both of them strike up a real bond this season, and now we're starting to see the Obi-Wan and Anakin style master and apprentice betrayal, which is something I can't wait to see develop. For now though, he's in prison and his marriage with Rose is looking like it's going to be finished following her saying that she didn't want to be with him anymore. Serena. Serena only featured in the closing moments, but it was just pure perfection. She was on the train that was heading to Hawaii that June was on, and she was with baby Noah. I do wonder how she knew about the train and if it was just by chance, but I think once she got in that car in the previous episode, she went to Twello's place and he set her up with a way of getting out, just like we saw him do with June. June and Serena, once enemies, will now be together, and it's a redemption arc that I'm all for, as it's felt so natural and organic this season. Janine. This was the most that we got from Janine in the entirety of the season. We saw Aunt Lydia want to post her out to Commander Lawrence's household, where she'd be able to be in the same household as her own child, to which it was met with fear at first, but then understanding. We saw that things were going well until the conversation with Naomi went south. Naomi referred to Janine as of Joseph, to which she snapped, and we saw her express her hatred for Naomi. Most likely due to all that she endured when she was Mr. Putnam's handmaid in Season 1, and the resentment that they held towards each other back then still being present. The talking back and hatred that she expressed was something that ultimately ended up getting her taken by the eyes, as was commanded by Commander Lawrence, and it's looking as though she's going to be facing a fierce punishment. I hope Janine doesn't die, but I feel she may end up dying, which will ultimately be the very thing that causes Aunt Lydia to turn. I thought this season finale was just perfect. I don't think it could have been any better, other than informing us a little more about what's going on with Esther. We got to spend a decent amount of time with the main characters. We saw an ending that was actually quite emotional to watch, and it looked as though Gilead is just as divided from within compared to what it is outside now. The hunt for Hannah is still on, but safety took the forefront, which is something that I think made sense. It's a shame that the season has drawn to a close, but it just means that there's so much to look forward to when the new season does get released. So, there you have it, The Handmaid's Tale Season 5 Episode 10, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, Theories and Predictions, and Character Breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of the season finale? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.